talk about ISIS. As we all know, ISIS is a group of terrorists, but that has been told by the world news around the world because they have been terrorizing many countries. But do we know what is actually ISIS and what is their objective and what is their ideology and what is they are fighting for? But before that, let me tell you something about ISIS, an introduction about ISIS. ISIS, or also known as ISIL, is originated as Jama'at al-Tawhid wal Jihad in 1999, which makes alliance with Al-Qaeda and participated in Iraqi insurgency following the 2003 invasion of Iraq by Western forces. The group proclaimed itself a worldwide caliphate and began reforming it to itself as Islamic State, or ISIS, in June 2014. As Al-Caliphate, it claims religious, political and military authority over all Muslims worldwide. Its adoption of the name Islamic State and its idea of Caliphate have been widely criticized, with the United States, various government and mainstream Muslim groups rejecting its statehood. In July 2017, the group lost control of its largest city, Mosul, to the Iraqi army. Following its major defeat in August 2017, ISIL continued to lose territory to the various state and other military forces allied against it, resulting in significant territorial losses for ISIL in the areas of Syria and Iraq. So, my first point is, what is the meaning of ISIL? First of all, I have stated that before, ISIS is Islamic State of Iran and Syria, because the first control is the Iran and Syria state. And for the US, know them as ISIL, which is Islamic State of Iran and Libya. Libya is the area of Al-Sham and around the Arabic area. Okay, first, the leader that been controlling the group is called Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, and the objective of the Islamic State is one only, which is the declaration of a caliphate across Iraq and Syria by ISIS leader, which is Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi in June 2014, demanded the universal allegiance of the entire Ummah, which is global Muslim community, and presented the creation of the caliphate as a religious obligation. ISIS rejects the concept of the nation state and present nationalism, which is alongside democracy and secularism, as idolatry. ISIS interpretation of religion is the key unifying force for its caliphate, which is presented as a positive, constructive, and expressionist project. The group's English language propaganda magazine, The reveals in the international constituency of fighters that ISIS have attracted, including Caucasian, Indian, Chinese, Shami, Iraqi, American, French, German, and Australians.
Hi, hello. So, my name is Daniel Faris Jabba. I shall present about the ideologies of ISIL, or Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. Now, one of the main ideology of ISIS is Salafi jihadism. Now, what is Salafi jihadism? Salafi jihadism, this is an approach to jihadism that is coupled with an hindrance to Salafism. Salafi jihadists tend to emphasize the military exploit of the Salaf, the early generations of Muslims, to give their violence an even more immediate divine imperative. Most jihadist groups today can be classified as Salafi jihadists, including Al-Qaeda and ISIS. Given their exclusive view that their approach to Islam is the only authentic one, Salafi jihadism often justify the violence against other Muslims, including non-combatants, by because the takfir or the excommunication of the fellow Muslims. For this group, if Muslims have been deemed to apostate, their violence against them is decent. Groups like ISIS largely disregard the very development of Islam view that occurred over the course of more than 12 centuries, dipping into the Sharia to provide justification for the project while ignoring these precepts when the law seems to bind them. And as Salafis, they don't consider themselves bound to the classical traditions. ISIS and its ilk rejects the rich and diverse tradition of Islamic scholarship as filled with sinful innovations. In their mind, authenticity lies in reverting to what they depict as Islam's original mandate. Now that concludes Salafi jihadism. Now next up, I shall explain about the means of spreading their ideology. First up, I shall explain about the means of spreading their ideology through social media. Now, as we know, technology is becoming more advanced. The means of social media becomes more easier through our smartphone. Now, with that, with the creation of apps, social apps such as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, they can easily spread their ideology of Salafi jihadism throughout the whole wide world. For example, in Facebook, one person might friend you on Facebook and you start chatting. After that, he might offer you something for you to meet him. After that, without you even knowing, you have already become an ISIS member because you believe in him and what he says and what he preaches. Now I shall explain about how ISIS spread their ideology through means of course. As we all know, there are multiple bombings happening in Europe and also a horrible situation happening in Mindanao, Philippines. Now, the situation happening in Mindanao, Philippines is actually very grueling to me because one of my friends lives in Mindanao. The stories that he has told me is that ISIS over there are forcefully telling non-Muslim people to convert, to say their shahada so that they can convert to Islam unwillingly. Now, in the teachings of Islam, you cannot condemn other people to join our religion unwillingly. But in ISIS, they just disregard this teaching. And ISIS forcefully change a person's religion to Islam unwillingly. They are also spreading their ideology through force by converting them to Islam. I guess that does concludes my explanation of means of ISIS ideology and how they spread their ideology throughout the world.
Okay, today I'm going to talk about the contradictions of ISIS and Islam. So, terrorism is not Islam, murdering is not Islam, and the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria is not Islam. They go around and murder, savagely murdering innocent people, the kafir, which is the non-Muslims. So, there is so many contradictions between ISIS and Islam. On the basic roots of ISIS, they force people to enter Islam. And in Islam, we cannot force people to enter Islam. Because Allah says in the Holy Quran, in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number 256. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا إكراه في الدين قد تبين الرشد من الغي استمسك بالعروة الوثقى لا انفصام لها والله سميع عليم. This ayah really emphasizes on we cannot force people to enter Islam by force, because in the early ages Rasulullah SAW doesn't spread Islam by the sword. He spreads Islam by words. He only declares war when it is necessary. Then when ISIS declares war on an organization or a group of people, they savagely killed, beheaded all the non-Muslims. And in the Quran, in Surah Al-Mumtahanah, verse number 8, Allah says, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. La yanhaakum Allahu 'anil ladhina lam yuqatilukum fid-din wa lam yukhrijukum min diyarikum an tabarruhum wa tuqsitu ilayhim. Innallaha yuhibbul muqsitin. Allah doesn't forbid you from doing good deeds and becoming fair to the non-Muslims. So we as Muslims, we cannot do injustice to the non-Muslims. So this clearly shows the contradictions between Islam and ISIS, which these are not the same thing. These are two different things with two different ideologies. Islam, which is based on peace, Islam comes from salama, which means peace, and ISIS is just using the religion, Islam as a religion, to spread their ideology. Thank you.
Okay, so we have reached our at the end of our topic about ISIS, and to conclude this, with this we can conclude that ISIS in fact an Islamic organization that is only trying to portray the image of their interpretation of Islam, and as such fail to incorporate that at the very basis of Islam.